Welcome to my channel. Research often uses words that can feel complicated at first, but once those ideas are explained step by step, they turn out to be much easier to understand. In this video, we will explore how to identify a research problem and learn to frame research questions for quantitative studies in tourism. The first step in any study is choosing the problem you want to explore. This decision sets the path for everything that follows. How you design the study, who you include, the tools you use to gather information, and the way you make sense of the results. Examine the origins of a topic and trace how it has evolved over time. For example, the shift from the old grand tour tradition to modern tourism. Look at why the topic exists and what its history tells us, like how beach tourism evolved into more specialized forms such as niche tourism. Analyze a comparative study of your topic in relation to similar ones to identify both similarities and differences. For instance, ecotourism versus mass tourism, where one focuses on sustainability while the other emphasizes the scale. Search across different journals. For example, using a multi-journal search strategy to gain wider perspectives. Keep track of notes and references during the literature reviews, like building a simple grid in Excel or Google Sheets to compare sources side by side. Check the scale of the problem, individual, local, or global. For instance, the sudden collapse of Thomas Cook Airlines in 2019 affected travelers worldwide. Assess how research findings might vary if the topic were excluded or examined within an alternative context. For example, if international aviation vanished and people had to rely only on ships or trains to reach other countries. If the issue is emerging, investigate how other disciplines have addressed comparable challenges, like the music industry, which feared live shows would end when concert films and streaming became popular, but later found that digital previews actually boosted demand for real experiences. Tourism now uses VR tours the same way as a try before you buy tool. Check if the issue is local or global. For example, a remote island facing plastic waste from tourism is a local problem tied to poor infrastructure, while plastic waste from industrial nations reaches remote islands via ocean currents. Evaluate whether stakeholders and organizations regard the problem as significant and worthy of resolution. Like the global push for accessible tourism, which highlights the importance of making travel possible for people with disabilities. Identify who is directly affected and their views. For instance, when studying the impact of a new cruise terminal, local residents may worry about over-tourism, noise, and rising living costs, showing why their perspective makes the issue worth researching. Refining research problem. To develop a comprehensive understanding of the topic, an in-depth review of existing literature must be undertaken across various areas of tourism. Relevant sources should be selected from reputable academic journals, online publications, and supplemented through discussions with the research guide and tourism stakeholders. These steps are essential for refining and narrowing the research problem. After going through a lot of the existing literature, the next step is to find that one specific area that hasn't been properly explored yet. When we talk about social media and influencer marketing in tourism, there is already so much research out there. But if you look closely, maximum studies focus only on international trips or the big famous tourist spots. Because of this, there is a massive gap. We still don't fully understand how these digital strategies are actually impacting domestic tourism, especially when it comes to offbeat locations, those hidden gems right within the country. To address this, select a tentative research title: The Influence of Social Media Marketing and Influences on Domestic Tourist Visits to Lesser Known Destinations. We have to break down the key problems and challenges within this topic, just so we know exactly which direction the research is heading. Broad topic: The influence of social media and influencer marketing on tourist behavior. The role of digital platforms in shaping travel decisions and enhancing destination visibility. Narrowing the focus, concentrating on the travel patterns of domestic and international tourists to understand differences in behavior. Giving priority to lesser known or emerging destinations instead of mainstream tourist spots. Examining the relationship between tourists' exposure to social media campaigns and influencer content and the actual frequency of visits to these destinations. Research gap. Existing studies have largely concentrated on international tourism and well-known destinations, leaving domestic travel underexplored. There is limited investigation into how domestic tourists respond to influencer marketing when choosing offbeat or lesser known locations. Few studies assess whether social media campaigns lead to actual increases in tourist visit rather than simply raising awareness. A key gap remains in understanding the direct behavioral impact of influencer activity and campaign exposure on domestic travel to hidden or emerging destinations. Now that we have identified that missing link, the research gap, let's look at the exact problem statement and the research questions we will be covering. Specifically selected these keeping three main things in mind. First, they are perfectly aligned with our core topic. Second, we can actually complete them within our timeline. And most importantly, practically speaking, we have the required data, software tools, and survey methods to execute this properly. Research problem. Even though we see social media and influencers totally shaping how people travel these days, there is a huge gap in understanding how this actually impacts domestic tourism, especially those offbeat, lesser known spots. If you look at the existing research, it's mostly focused on international trips or the big, crowded tourist hubs. So we really don't know if these digital strategies are actually pushing people to explore hidden gems within the country. Without hard evidence, we just can't say for sure if there's a real connection between an influencer's campaign and a sudden spike in tourists visiting these emerging destinations. Research questions can range from 3 to 6. Keeping exactly 3 or less than 3 questions is the ideal approach. It keeps research highly targeted and ensures you don't lose track of your main research topic. Research questions. In what ways do social media marketing efforts and influencer activities influence the travel choices of domestic tourists, particularly towards lesser known destinations? How effectively do these digital strategies convert awareness into actual visits rather than remaining at the level of promotion alone? What demographic and behavioral factors shape the degree to which social media and influencers marketing encourage domestic tourists to explore offbeat destinations? Research problems and questions are the backbone of any study, guiding focus and clarity. Next, we'll explore how to frame them within qualitative research.